Hey, man, it's great to be with you.
This is the first, well, it's the second, I guess, interview type style here, but I changed it up last night, and I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you, about your journey.
Sure.
I know a lot of it, but not everybody does, and I think it's something people should know about you because I mean you're a leader in the community. You know the growth of your company in a very short period of time has been impressive, but you also have a lot of really, really good people.
You know, I think that's the key to it, Adam, is as far as Southern Elite Realty, when it was born, I think, on the right principles. And I believe that, I'll just be honest with you, as a man of God, my prayer was, Lord, what do agents want in a company? And so I put a lot of time in prayer and years of experience, and I'll get into the story here in a minute, but I said, Lord, what do people really want? And so when I was designing or laying it out and just really from my heart and mind, writing it down, the very first thing I wrote down was culture. And culture to me, really, and the way I defined it, was great people surround themselves with greater people. And so I understand, I'll be 50 this year, and I understand that I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the strengths in all topics. But if I surround myself with the right people, we complement each other with our strengths, which creates a beautiful picture.
Yes. So tell us, let's go back just a minute and tell us about your journey, where you grew up, etc.
Okay. So I'll say it this way. Everybody's got a story, right? I grew up at the foot of Kill Hollow. I normally say holler, but I'll try to be all proper today. At the foot of Kill Hollow in southeast Madison County, so just outside of the New Hope area. That family farm's been in my family since 1909. And I don't live on the farm right now. I live about 6 miles from, so I still live in the New Hope area, so right across the county line there. But I literally just grew up a country poor boy with hardworking family, great Christian principles and values, and I tried to just, everything today I build off of my story. It's just been evolving and coming from that. I actually went to New Hope High School and graduated New Hope High School, went to Snead State, had an opportunity to go in to work with a pharmaceutical company at the very bottom of the company. That's where a lot of my business comes in, the business mindset. I was very fortunate. I believe God aligns us. I believe even today, right here with you, man, I consider you a great friend, and it's an honor to be here with you, and that we could do something like this to speak life into somebody coming behind us is very, very meaningful to me. But I was blessed that I wound up working with a man named William Probst. William Probst birthed Qualitas Pharmaceuticals, Vintage Pharmaceuticals, and I was the 45th employee of his company. And I started in the distribution side. I was just in the warehouse, man. I swept floors, I pulled orders. I even filled the vending machines, brother.
Isn't that kind of what we do today?
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly. But I literally started at the bottom of that company that years later led to being called in. I was by that time, I was in charge of all Schedule II narcotics. I had a lot of responsibility, DEA, FDA, all those guys. But I just worked, man. I just worked. I'll say this, Adam. I learned something early in my life that many times you'll be in the room with people that maybe have a lot more intellect or skills or whatever. You have to find what your strengths are and focus. And so that's what I did. I decided, hey, one thing I knew, nobody would outwork me. And so I used that strength, and then God just began to build wisdom and knowledge and experience. And so he brought me in, Mr. Probst brought me in one day, and he set me down. He introduced me to one of his attorneys. I was scared to death because I thought I'd messed something up, being honest about it.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. But he set me down, and he sold me 3,300 units of that company. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I did exactly what he told me to do, and I wrote him a check. And later on, we sold that company. But, it wasn't even about money. It's about people, being the right people. And he taught me business. When people ask me, say, Jerry, what do you attribute your successes to? Well, first of all, it's going to be God first. Everything about my company is God first, then family, then all the dreams. And the real estate part comes in the dreams step. You got to keep things in priority and in line. But then I attribute to William Probst, my amazing parents, and I always throw my football coaches in there because the discipline. If you ain't got discipline, brother, you ain't gonna make it. It's gonna take some discipline in this life.
For sure, and I think that's one thing that a lot of business people, a lot of salespeople miss today is, while some may have discipline, they lack in consistency.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
And you can't leave out the humility factor.
Lord has a way of humbling.
Amen.
So, and sometimes you have to go through those storms.
100%.
It's no secret the mortgage business has been tough. Real estate in general has been more challenging the last couple of years because of the just normal economic factors on top of the election. But I tell a lot of people, I probably learned more in the last 2 years, not only about myself, but about business and about.
Well, would you say that, and you're saying exactly what I'm fixing to say, but every time in the real estate business, agents come to me and they say, listen, especially if they've already had a touch of success and they've done well, and they come to me and they say, man, I don't know what's going on. I'm drying up. I'm not doing a lot of work right now and whatever. First of all, we're in an industry that is a roller coaster ride. Always has been, always will be. Absolutely. And you have to understand how to manage and how to lay that out so that you're not strapped. In my side of things, the real estate agents love to spend money, man. We spend more money, but like we're waiting on the check to come, but we already spent that money. And I had to learn and try to teach. We're fixing to hit. We're at 68 agents right now.
We're gonna get into that a little bit more.
But anyways, so I try to remind them how to do that. But brother, just like you, I've had to be broken. I went through a divorce in my adult life that when it was over, 26 cents, Adam. I had 26 cents left. And I'm being real today, being honest with you, transparency, and I think that's key for success because most people, and I love this setting and I love this opportunity because people assume that everything's just greener at somebody else's house. No, everybody's got stuff. My heart, somebody asked me the other day, Adam, they said, how can I pray for you? And I thought that was awesome that they asked me. And I said, you pray that Jerry will be his best him today. And tomorrow, if you remember me, pray it again. Because I want to be the best me I can be today. But you got to go through, sometimes you got to be broken to be your best. And then hopefully, one of the greatest things I decided with Southern Elite was culture, then support system. And that was not just a broker support, that was teaching an atmosphere, bringing an atmosphere of agents together that supported one another. Everybody's independent contractors. And the basis of general everyday, hey, every man for himself. No, I wanted a people that would look out for each other. And then bottom line, buddy, you got to pay people. That's just, people's got to make money.
Well, I think we get caught up into, and this is diverting a little bit, but I think we get caught up into the culture.
Sure.
And we say we're family, we're this, we're that, but at the end of the day, we're there to earn a living.
Absolutely.
And I think that I want everyone to earn more and reach their full potential.
Well, humility teaches you that, to prefer your brother or your friend or your sister or whoever, to prefer someone else's needs ahead of your own. That's some humility, and because my assistant sometimes she'll say, Casey, she'll say, hey, when are we going to pay you?
Let's not miss this just a moment. We all know Casey is the real success behind it.
She is the heart of this operation.
Yeah, and those agents, I mean, you have, we'll get into that in just a second, but so from New Hope, went into pharmaceuticals for a while. What attracted you to real estate?
I think everybody has an interest in real estate some way, form, or fashion. Back when I started out, you'd walk through, and we still see them some, but we're so technology friendly now, but used to you'd walk through. Back in the day, man, I had the badge on always. If I went to a restaurant and I saw them with a Homes and Land magazine, I was going over and say, hey, just call me, I'll take care of it, and I'd walk off, have a great dinner, I would go to Lowe's and hang out, and I put my business cards on top of for sale by owner signs. I had a deal with one of the guys that worked in Lowe's one time at the millwork desk, which was right across the aisle from the for sale by owners signs, and he was giving out my cards, man. I just was creative and whatnot. And I mentioned the divorce. I went through basically a 6-figure job and a divorce, all that loss in about a year. And so I was broken, like we kind of already talked about. And so when we sold the company and all the things happened, I stayed on another 1.5 years or whatever. Big pharma, big business in general. They clean out all the senior management. They basically came to me and said, hey, we're in trouble financially, so far in back order, blah, blah, blah. I said, I know that. They knew I had done everything pretty much in that company to get to where I was. And so they knew how to utilize me, I guess you'd say. And so they did that. And I served and did my time, but a lot of my buddies had already lost their job, And as soon as they got what they needed to get out of me, then they brought me in, let me go, brought their buddy from up north, stuck me in my job. And I just assume, nowadays I would say, right then it hurt. Now I would say, hey, it was just God just laying the way before me.
And I think that, and you mentioned it a minute ago, but in today's society, we get so caught up on the here and now.
Oh gosh.
Everyone sees, successful people's success, and they think that it's.
I love to tell people that if I remember correct, and you probably know better than me, but I love to tell people that Colonel Sanders was not a millionaire until he was 65 or something. That man drove all over the country selling chicken out the trunk of his car,
Well, and it's funny because a lot of, I have teenage boys. And a lot of, it's a right now society. It's instant gratification, and
It's called the Burger King mentality.
Yeah.
Let me have it my way.
yeah, and if you look at successful people, very few of them are overnight successes.
That's right.
Most of them, what you're seeing now is 30 years worth of their story.
They don't see all that came before.
And
love
most,
it.
and it's, I love there's a couple of quotes, but, adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely one of my favorite all time.
Yeah.
We can't, instant gratification. I tell my boys all the time, you gotta slow down. And I'm guilty of it too.
Sure.
You're in the everyday, look, we got
the emotions.
3 playing basketball,
Yeah.
we're going and going and going, and at night sometimes I lay down and I'm like, I'm not sure I got anything accomplished today and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But I'll still get up and send that one last pre-approval or whatever.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean
That's the discipline factor.
exactly. And accessibility, especially in our business,
You have to be.
You got to be.
You have to be. I tell my agents all the time, if you're not answering the phone, somebody is. I believe it was Adrian Rogers said it's always too early to quit and never too late to start.
Yeah.
And I'm 4:30 every morning. Go ahead.
Well, no, have you thought about that?
I have. I've thought a lot about it.
That's I've heard that before, and it's just, of course, Adrian was a great pastor, teacher, and preacher, but he was also a great communicator.
Yes.
And I think that's what cell phones and instant messaging and all that, it really has taken a lot of the humanality out of it. So when building your culture at Southern Elite, I know that we share a passion for education. The son of an English teacher, and I didn't have a choice but to like education. But we were talking about social media, and people see the highlight reel, right? But they don't see behind the curtain. And my thing for 2025 is authenticity.
Yes.
And I want to work with people that I want to work with. I want to work with people that have the right moral compass, that truly value a partnership. And the thing is, hard to find a lot of the times these days because.
Well, we have a lot of things that are playing factor in. What I do every day is not an HGTV episode, brother. If I'm not allowed to say that, I'm sorry. What I do every day is with intentionality. And I'm very intentional. This is my baby. This is what I do. I believe that I'm a God-called leader. I say that firmly because I believe that. And so I'm trying to fulfill that role. And I just tell them I'm on my way to heaven. I want to take as many people with me as I can, but I want to bless. And I had a lady come in my office and interview 2 weeks ago, and she said this. She said, Jerry, when I see you, I see a circle. And I asked her, I said, you call me fat? And she said, no, Mr. J, I'm not saying that. And she said, you understand that it's a blessing to be a blessing. I recognize, I'm also a pastor, and so I recognize that I do all these funeral services and weddings and things. I see people in different stages of life, and we all have a situation. We all have a situation, Adam. And I recognize that most people, when they're authentic and real, they got stuff. They got issues going on. I've had multiple agents in the last 3 months that work with our company, my family members, I would say. We literally have a family wall. Like you go to Granny's house and you got all the family's pictures. We have a family wall with everybody's picture on it that's a part of the company. I like to have that vibe and that feel and the atmosphere. But you know, I've had multiple agents that have had loss of life or in their family and just different tragedies. People, everybody's somewhere trying to get somewhere. And so I recognize that, can I just say, love the people, man. Just love the people. And so when people, I asked a man here a while back, I said, why did you join Southern Elite? Why did you choose? There's a lot of great companies around. I said, why did you choose Southern Elite?
You know, I make no bones about it.
Yeah.
I tell Jerry, like I rely on realtor referrals.
Sure.
These situations, these educational, you know, I want you to know, I want my group of followers to know the people that I want to partner with that are good people, and that's how you change the world.
Culture.
You and I, if we'll live where our feet are planted and be our best us where our feet are planted, great things happen. And I decided a long time ago.
You know, Jay, that's really easily said.
Oh, but walking is different.
It is.
Amen. I'm with you. But I think if we're supposed to be learning as we go. And I tell people, and I don't remember the quote, last name Phillips, he says, you know, we want to make God, if we make God so small to understand him, we'll never have him large enough to worship him. I have to understand that every step I've got, my steps that walked into this room have purpose and culture. You keep saying things that really say culture to me because it's the right people, the right place to get the right results.
Well, and you know, I had a stop in my career where that culture was everything and more. But I'll challenge you with this.
Yeah, come on.
I like to challenge
That's
Jerry.
all right. That's all right.
Jerry's one I call when I'm not having a great day.
Everybody needs that guy.
They do. But if you have a great culture, it's easy to build, easier to build, but it's really hard to maintain.
Yeah.
And you know, the company I was part of ended up going public, and it took several years. But when you report to Wall Street, it's different.
Yeah.
And I'll probably always be, you know, I'm probably in the situation where I'm closest to that, but you always yearn for those. So, and the other thing I'll tell you about Jerry is, you can't help but smile when you're around him. I mean, he is just genuinely a happy person, and you know, and the cool thing is you need to have people you can call because it's okay to struggle. Pretty sure Scripture is very clear that He won't put anything on us more than we can handle, and sometimes I'm like, are you sure about that?
Yeah. Well, you know, He'll allow a lot, and the thing is, I have to have confidence that I just trust, man. I just trust. And you know what? I had to really decide this. I was driving to Arab one day, and I was seeing other companies that some people would say are competition. I was seeing their signs, and I was like, but you see, and I personally, this is my take on it. A lot of my younger agents struggle probably more with the comparison game. I don't worry about the comparison game. I worry about what I can control, which is me. And I try to teach that mindset that hopefully they'll see past, because you can get so encapsulated in the comparison game that you're holding yourself back from being your best you. And so I have to try to keep that. But here's the deal. We overcomplicate. We really think too hard, overthink a lot of things. And you talked about the keeping that culture and maintaining that. Brother, you're looking at a man that has said no to people that most brokers probably would have said, you're lost your mind. I'm going to maintain and be careful. But I've also been a guy that's been open-minded. Casey, we talk about Casey. She's my rock star office manager. Casey takes care of me like my wife takes care of me, and I got others, key people in my life that make sure I get to where I'm supposed to be, make sure I was here with you today. But they look out for that, but they know, and here's the main thing I want to say. Take the mindset in your business, in your life, in your family and all with this. Just do the next right thing. What the results? Absolutely. I true story. In my early days of real estate. So when I left pharmaceutical world, go to real estate school, had bills, had to get to work. I listed 7. I passed the real estate test, and I went straight to work. I listed $7 million worth of property in my first 3 months, and I never looked back. And I was maintaining 40 to 50 listings by myself, a lot, for a long time. Later on, I remarried. My wife, she's behind the scenes helping me keep data and stuff entered, but I was just boots on the ground, knocking on doors, prospecting every day. Nobody would outwork me. That was my mindset, and I still believe that today.
I always ask mentors and people in business that I respect, do you still every day at some point spend at least an hour prospecting?
Yeah. It's just a different prospect now. It's you adapt to
whatever you're selling. It could be tires for all.
Well, I think honestly, Adam, the hardest part is, and I believe the vision God showed me for my company. You're seeing me in 2025. You're going to see me even more, because we're fixing to celebrate. This coming weekend is our awards banquet for finishing the 3rd year of Southern Elite Realty. We had a 26% increase in gross volume sales from 23 to 24.
So let's
in a tough year.
Yeah. Southern Elite was born 3 years ago, right?
Fixing to start year 4.
Okay.
February.
And you started let's say you ended 2023.
I tell you what I did. We did.
Well, no, I'm just talking about number of agents.
I think I ended the very first year with 20-something, maybe close to 30 agents. I started out, when Southern Elite was born, I was committed 100%. I spoke to every person that was affiliated and tied with me, and I said, listen, I need you to know this is the previous company, which I have great respect for. They went another direction, and I can't lead things I'm not passionate about. So I think every step that I had in that role with that company, I've only been with 3 companies, that's including my own. I think every step had purpose, and I was thankful. I was managing broker, had an outstanding run with my previous company, but they went another direction, and I couldn't go forward leading with the passion that I have in doing that. And brother, my days are limited just like yours. I'm going to be my very best, and I have to be in the best setting. And I would challenge anybody, make sure you're in the best setting. Whatever product, whatever avenue you're in your career, be your best you and set the stage. So I went and I talked to every person and said, heads up, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not asking anybody to go with me. I've got to go do it. If it was just me, that would have been fine. But I think we went to 30, maybe close to 30 the first year, 40 some odd next year. I don't remember exact numbers there. And like I said, today, literally finishing up year 3, we're at 68. That's awesome. And we just opened our 4th office. We put an office, we're based in Guntersville. I have an office in Athens. God kind of showed me a vision of how it's laid out. I'm so bold, I put it on the name it and claim it. I'm not really that guy. I put it out there. I'm planning to go all the way to the beach with my company. But along the way, sometimes God will allow you some surprises. And so we based in Guntersville, office in Athens now, office in Pulaski, Tennessee, small office up there, but we do have a Tennessee office. And we just opened in Huntsville in the last 2 weeks.
Huntsville in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I didn't know how public that was.
It's out there now, brother. Come on.
My company will officially hear it this coming Saturday night, but they're already, some of them coming talking to me because people in the area are talking. So that's okay, man. I'm excited for it. I'll go ahead and say this. We're launching an auction company too. I don't mind saying that. Southern Elite Auctions is being born right now too. So.
Cool. Well, lots of cool things going on. Don't you think that when people look, we were talking about the success journey and all that, you hear, obviously I'm an Alabama graduate, so Nick Saban, he's a great leader.
Sure,
too.
sure.
And he has a lot of great talks, but
Phenomenal.
if you focus on the process every day, and you're consistent, and you're disciplined, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win. January 22nd, you know what that day is? That's I don't know what it's called, but it's the national, a huge percentage of New Year's resolutions are.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, they're done by February, I know. Oh.
So if you're sticking to yours, good for you.
Yeah.
But,
Stay in it.
but the consistency is, what is it? You do something 21 times, it becomes a habit over and over. And then it becomes a mindset, and then feel guilty if it doesn't happen.
Let me say this.
I often make this statement to my agents, especially new agents. We're starting to take on several new agents. And I'll tell you, my last year, I don't think I finished making this statement earlier, I'm in a transition of becoming more of the leader. I still sell, and I was really blessed. One of my agents said this here a while back. Somebody asked one of my agents, said, how is Jerry so successful as a broker and sales and all the things? And she came to me and told me this, and I was very flattered by it, but she said, Jerry learned how to not be a competing broker, but to be a managing broker. To be a managing broker, you got to care about all of those people too. Actually, you'll prefer them over yourself. And I still, but I'm in that transition. I believe that God's leading me that way. I'm in that transition because last year, because 2024 was a tough year. It was a very tough year. And I attribute 2024 successes because I'll tell you, across the board, as far as agents, I would say that most of my larger producers traditionally or historically, their numbers were down. But across the board, all of them collectively, we increased 26% in a year in sales. So I'm gonna say this, I attribute 2024 success to increase of training, education. Because I intentionally spent, I do a mastermind every week. Right now, starting January of 2025, I stepped it up even more because I believe the results I saw from 2024 stepping up the training game. Because listen, let's be honest with you, I got to pay my bills too, Adam. And so I've got to sell and I've got to do business and whatnot. And
when you're also in the infancy of a new company.
100%.
And we all know, if you're in the business world, cash flow is king in it. And realtors, mortgage loan officers, we have so many good ones in this market. In North Alabama,
I have dear friends that don't wear a Southern Elite logo on their chest that I have great confidence in, that I talk to periodically. They do me the same. There's that respect. See, that's what it should be about. It's become a bunch of snakes and a bunch of dog eat dog. It doesn't have to be that, man. We can be respectful of one another and our industry and be our best, and everybody wins.
Yeah, and
one thing that I'm sure you struggle with, that I've struggled with for years is I cannot self-promote. Like, I'm not a self-promoter. And a lot of the social media game is self-promotion.
And that's people. I'm the same way. I struggle with that.
It's personality. But my point in saying is, about 2022, March 2022, I shifted heavily in social media. I call it business media, but it fascinating to me. It's not fascinating. It's really sad that so many people know so little about finances, and they look at it as a transaction. But just like you and I are talking about your journey, that's part of their journey.
Sure.
Where else can you make 100% profit?
Right.
In a year? What investment? You
can't. And can I say this? There's empowerment in empowering others. I keep talking about Casey, and like you said, we know Casey's the rock star. Casey was the wedding planner for my oldest daughter's wedding out in Albertville years ago. And I got in trouble around rehearsal and wedding because I kept watching her work, and I walked up to her and I said, "You're gonna work with me one day." And she kind of blew me off. She was like, "Oh, okay, Mr. O'Neill," But she, within 2 months, was working with me at the previous company. And then when Southern Elite was born, and I believe it all had purpose. and she didn't have a great upbringing, but God has graciously grown her to be more, and I have felt led to empower her and whatnot. And hey, the social media world, brother, I just told you earlier, strengths and weaknesses. That is not my strength, but she is. And she has that. And so she brings that to the table. She's building her website. She's taking care of all those things.
Well, and you say it's not your strength. It's not that. It's that muscle memory.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, a basketball analogy.
Yeah.
If you shoot.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at who is the GOAT.
Yeah.
MJ.
I agree.
Talking about he's missed 9,000 shots in his career.
Yes.
And that's, he failed over and over and over. If we would all be authentic and tell our story, there's somebody out there, I believe.
We're going to touch somebody.
In every video that I put out, those minute-long reels every day, if I can help one person, and it doesn't have to help me financially, and that's
sure.
That's the one of the things I was going to talk to Jerry about was, the real estate world you mentioned has become so dog eat dog.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I know I'm not going to get every deal that every realtor does. I mean, it's just, number one, I couldn't handle it. Number two, people work well with other people. And I always respect those relationships. Normally, there's enough, I want to talk to other loan officers. I want to learn from other people. I want to learn from real estate. Heck, I want to learn from the new agents because it's a different generation.
They bring a different vibe on it.
Yeah.
Do you believe? I know I believe, and I'm sure you do. It takes great discipline, and I teach this really heavy at Southern Elite. You see, a strong agent will learn to put the right who in the right place. And what I mean by that is, for instance, especially like I've got one or two husband and wife teams. And I tell them, I said, you have to understand that, and even beyond that, bro, beyond the teams, to even launch out to somebody else. See, sometimes we want to win the deal so bad, and our pride, we know the scripture teaches pride comes before the fall, our pride will rise up and we'll stay in this deal with this agent that our personalities are just not jiving. And it takes great discipline to step aside and bring on another agent who their personality would work better, and still, hey, everybody make a little something, but we win the deal, we win a relationship, and we have future. See, I don't believe in this one check deal stuff. I don't. I believe in building clients. I have clients now that, brother, I have done years and years of business with them because I chose to be intentional with the relationship. See, I'm gonna tell you, here's how I run Southern Elite. This is me being transparent as I can be. I study the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If you study Jesus, Jesus built relationship first, he loved, then he served. I run Southern Elite on that principle.
Can't argue that.
And I said, it worked for him. Hey, they killed him, okay? But it was successful in its mission. And so that's how I run Southern Elite.
So one thing that I struggle with in today's market, in today's world is, I'm very relationship. Yeah. But I'm also very introverted.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that because they see videos, they see me talking.
That's forcing yourself out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, I can talk to 1,000 people, give a presentation, doesn't bother me at all, but I walk into a room, I don't know you. Yeah. I'm gonna clam up, and it gives the persona of, not nice or whatever, but I don't know. I wish I could change that, but I don't. So I've always been one-on-one relationally. Sure. But even as competitors, I wish we could get to a point in our industry, and this you can shift this across. It's okay if I don't agree with Jerry.
Sure, 100%.
All right. Normally, when I don't agree with Jerry or he doesn't agree with me, we'll talk about it. Right. And the best thing comes out of it.
Yes.
Whereas today it's my way or the highway, or I can't believe that you listed a property with so and so. Look, I have rental properties. Yeah. If I'm buying a rental property, I deal with whoever it has listed. I can't choose.
I tell people, if I do that though, if you intentionally surround yourself with people that'll only agree with you, you will fail.
Well, and back to Coach Saban is getting the right person on the bus, but more importantly, getting the right person in the right seat.
100%.
And attitude is very important. attitude is very important. I've seen some from the sports world. We've both been around the sports world a lot, and I tell them, man, I was so disciplined. I had to quit coaching rec ball because I was too hard. But I even, my own boys and everybody, they were like, oh my God, he's about to kill us. But I was so disciplined about it, and I played some ball and stuff, and I was very disciplined. But
freshmen right now that are watching, that may see this one day and they're going, hey, you don't know hard.
I understand. Listen, I was hard too.
I was tough, but I really feel like I've always, a lot of people have asked and ridiculed how much time we spend in the gym and all that.
Yeah.
And it's, everybody's perception is, I want my kids to get a scholarship or anything like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know my daughter wanted to play college basketball until about 8 months ago.
Yeah.
We had never talked about it. So my point is, we've always used basketball, sports in general.
Yeah.
It's a great teacher in life.
Yeah.
It's okay to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
It's okay that you missed a shot.
Yeah.
As long as you keep shooting.
That's right.
It's okay that you didn't play well.
Yeah.
But if you let it affect tomorrow, what's that going to do for you?
Scripture says this: he that take hold of the plow and looks back is not fit for the kingdom of God.
I have to keep the blinders on. My granddaddy used to talk about the old mules and stuff and putting the blinders on them, trying to get them to run a straight row across the field, right? I have to learn to put the blinders on, the comparison game. Everything, all of this stuff, and that's why I'm like you. We agree a lot in that the sports world aligns with a lot of the discipline factors, attitude factors, all the things that still show up, and just being a player, man, being a part of the family, being there for each other.
Having coached AAU type basketball for 6 years, thankfully I had a really good group of parents, and they really bought into what I believed and did, because we were doing things that other teams weren't. But we also, I knew, and they're going to be ultra successful men, but I knew we weren't as talented as most of the teams we were going to play.
You know what? I play a lot of them that had a better attitude that weren't as good an athlete.
Yeah. Because
usually it overcomes and wins out.
Well, and as we record this, the Gunnersville High School is where I grew up and my wife grew up. Our kids go there. I mean, it's been a tough, from a basketball standpoint, from a basketball guy, it's been a tough year.
Yeah, I understand.
But you know what?
There's so much teaching happening.
But I was just thinking, there's a lesson in every failure.
Amen.
And
every success has tons of failures before it.
I do find myself praying, Lord, I get, like, I think I'm headed in the right direction.
It's hurting right now.
Let's chill a minute, but no.
I get it.
But so, and we'll get finished up here, but
dude, I could go all day.
Me too. Tell me a little bit. Let's finish. So you got 4 offices now, starting the auction.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the most important. I know your wife. Tell us a little bit about your kids, where they are.
Yeah.
So I, Becky and I, she is a shining star. I may cry when you're here. Without the right people, you'll never have success in life, brother. And my wife is the right people. She stands by my side. She cheers me on. Used to for years, she was more the introverted. She's getting more out of her shell now. But I remember when I was going through ordination, becoming a minister and pastor years ago, Brother Joel Carwile did my ordination, and he said, every once in a while you're going to need to listen to your wife. You ain't going to want to, but you're going to need to listen to your wife. And she has been that person that was my cheerleader. She's also been the person that said, hey, have you thought that through? Hey, are you sure? But she locked arms with me. And our 4 children, man, Wyatt 19, Lakin 21, Sissy or Savannah, we call her Sissy, 22. She's fixing to be 23. And then Kelsey's 26. Kelsey is, she's the only one that's married. The middle 2 are engaged. So I got to have a really good year this year, brother, because 2026 is going to be expensive. But all of that, man, is just, I'm so proud of it. And one of the greatest things, I'd say at least 3 or 4 of my kids, 3 of the 4 probably have tried to go into real estate. and wound up not going that route. Not that they never will. Everybody wants that I guess that legacy and whatnot, but they just found their strengths, and I was really intentional with trying to help them target and find their strengths so that they could be their most joyous and most happy, because I promise you, when you got to get up and go do it every day, you better love it. And we've already discussed enough today to know that it's a tough time and a tough industry, but I know that God called me to do this and leave an influence on this. And let me say this in closing. One of the most successful decisions I ever made was the moment that I decided that I wanted to leave a legacy, not a bank account. And I figured out through time that if you'll focus on leaving a legacy, the bank account will take care of itself. And so I'm just trying to be my best me today, enjoying this time with you. I tell every agent, I want this said today, I tell every agent, I don't care where they are in the business, how young, how old. Sometimes the most hard-headed ones are some of the old ones that don't want to learn anymore. You got to stay a student to your craft because it's ever changing. I wrote down this word at the end of 2024, going into 2025. I wrote down the word change. And behind that, I said, those that make the right changes, they're willing to change. That's the hardest part, is we don't like change, okay? But we had to adapt a lot in 2024 to stay in the business. It was just our turn to be challenged in the industry, and it's still being challenged, okay? I did, just in trainings on one document change, I did 17 consecutive trainings. I'm being intentional. But I tell agents, I said, if you will give, and I still believe this, Adam, I don't care what level they're in, and I hope whoever sees this hears me, no matter what level you're at, if you're brand new, if you will give this business 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, you can make six figures if you do it right. But you got to be intentional. And I don't mean, I learned early in the business that people will go to the office and they'll be there. They won't get there till 9 something because they don't think nobody's going to answer the phone anyways. And then they're going to hem-haw around, do a little something, scroll around, look at some listings. We want to feel productive, but we ain't producing nothing. And then it's lunchtime. We're going to go spend lunch. And I'm all about some lunch appointments and coffee appointments because we have some great conversations in those. But coming through that, and then before you know it, it's time to go get the kids at school, whatever. You didn't do nothing today. I'm saying 4 intentional hours, 4 days a week. Take Friday off. If that's what you want, take it. I went through a boot camp one time that over in Decatur, Alabama. And I was bound and determined. They split us up in 2 teams. And this was old school, brother. They put me in a room with a phone book, and I was cold calling straight out of that phone book. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry, whoever answered the phone, trying to list a property, sell a property. Listing agents win. I'm telling you right now, listing agents win. Listing is king. And because you'll always have lead generators. I'm not a big buy leads, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a big that guy. But you got to know where you are. Write it down. Be intentional and be crafty.
There's lots of ways to generate leads in this industry.
Sure.
And some have leads, even in the mortgage business, there are entire divisions that just have leads, and that's what they do.
And different brokers do different routes. That's just me. I'm more boots on the ground, knock on the door, whatever we got to do. But I'll say this. We talked about family, brother. In that boot camp I mentioned a while ago, I remember, this has been many years ago, I was taught to, by November of this year, I better have 4 weeks vacation written down for next year. Be intentional, not just in your business plan. You remember earlier I said, when I designed this and laid this out the way I believe God showed me, it was God first, then my family, then all the dreams. And real estate falls in the dreams. If you get that out of order, chasing this one or this one or this, if you don't do it the way God aligned it, it ain't going to work.
2024 really hard.
Absolutely. It gets ugly, you know. Yeah. And so the dreams, you say, I'm just trying to float, I'm trying to stay afloat, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. Listen, most of the time, anytime I ever got slow in business, I went back to the foundations and I put it in order and it started working again.
Well,
and family's got to be there. You've got to be intentional with your family, or if they get out of proportion, it will fail.
Well, and I'll say this to mortgage loan officers, if you've struggled, look, it's okay. We're going to make it through it. If you're still in the business, honestly, less than 100,000 loan officers across the country now.
Sure.
There were 621,000 in 2020.
Wow.
So lots of attrition, same in real estate, same in a lot of industries.
Yeah.
But if you're still in it, hey,
Stay the course.
Stay the course.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, don't pay attention to all the noise. There's a lot of noise, a lot of coaches, a lot of this, a lot of that.
We're so
all
distracted.
trying to, and they're calling more and more now because guess what? Us people that are out in the field, it's been tough. So you have to. So
Well, I think like we're
everybody needs a coach. I'm a
100%,
full believer
100%.
in coaching. Loan officers, I have some great coaches that I can recommend, but stay focused, stay intentional about your prospecting, your calls,
Yeah.
your building your relationships, because in the end, that's all that matters. And I'll leave you with this. And I hope Coach Colley watches this.
Yeah.
Philip Colley was my high school basketball coach.
I
Probably the closest thing to a father figure, and he's going through a setback and in health. But you know, I was talking to him last week, and he doesn't realize he still hits home. He said it's not about what you do. It's not about what you have. It's not about how much you have. It's about who you have. And while that's so simple, it's so profound. So I appreciate you.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
I said earlier, and I want to be very direct with this. When Southern League was born, I give every year, I give what I call a community impact award. Because I told you earlier, Jesus himself built relationship first. Relationships was everything, okay? Relationship, love, serve. I teach those that work with me. I don't require it. I just teach it and encourage it. I want my agents to give back. I want my agents to serve. We operate in Guntersville, we serve in Guntersville. We operate in Arab. Wherever you are, wherever you hang your hat, whoever sees this, wherever you are, serve where you are. Be intentional in that. Serve your community. You know one of my most fun things I do? I absolutely love it. Friday nights on the football field, being the team chaplain. Man, that's the closest I'll ever be to playing football again in my life, okay? And when I'm done talking to those boys, I feel like I could run through a wall, right? But it is so much fun and so powerful. I'm also a student pastor, so I speak to students a lot. And I said this last week, I took 38 kids to a big retreat, had a bunch of decisions. It was an amazing weekend. But my sister texted me, she was talking about, thank you for letting me be a part of it. She came and served and helped. She said, thank you. And she said, she's like, I learned so much from these students, and I'm hoping some of your students, some of mine will see some of this. But man, speak into the next generation. Speak into those behind, because I'm going to tell you, there's a stigma that feels like, even especially through COVID, where a lot of our students, and this is something that's very, very important to me. A lot of people say, well, our students are horrible. Bad attitudes, bad this, whatever, they're horrible. COVID years jacked them up, whatever that we say. A lot of people say a lot of things, and a lot of people just speak because they heard somebody else say it. But I don't think they're, probably, I don't think they're horrible. I think they're hungry. They're just hungry for the right things and the peace that God
Well,
gives.
you know what's funny to me is a lot of the parents, well, what I would tell you is go look in the mirror.
I think they backed out on their job, and that's why we're dealing with it. I'm big picture. It ain't just real estate to me. It's life. And I think Jesus is life, and I think that God has called me to lead, and I think that God has allowed me to be surrounded by great people that we can encourage and build a culture that we all win. You know, I saw this. I got to say this, and I'll try to stop. We'd go all day if I
That's clear. But anyways,
I saw this just in the last month. When I was a kid, man, there was this guy. He owned a bunch of grocery stores. And in my eyes, I was just a little poor boy from the foot of Kill Hollow. But that guy, always in the suit, I always loved the business mind, you know. He had it all going on, man. He had it all going on. He had like 26 stores, and he had this, and he had that.
So you thought.
so
I
oh, it's very important. It's very important. That's what I'm saying. In that moment, at that age, I looked at him and thought, now that dude's got it going on.
In the last 2 years, he began to wither away, and things changed, and wound up in assisted living, and he wound up, withering away and passed away in the last month. You see, we all face that. So while I'm here, the old sermon, right? The old sermon of the dash, between the day you're born and the day you die, the dash. What am I going to do with that dash? I'm on a mission, buddy. I'm on a mission. and I'm gonna be my best me.
Don't you think the common misnomer is your workplace is your biggest battlefield?
You're there more than home.
You spend more
So
time
much
with
time.
workers
I agree.
than you do
I agree.
with family.
I agree.
I tell people all the time, you got to be intentional with your time, but you really got to figure out where that priority falls and how you can do it. There's times that my wife said, hey, shut it off, come home, right? But and she knows I love it. She knows I'm having fun. I'm just being, it's not, it's a lot of work, but when you love it and you know you're dwelling where you're called to be, great things can happen and you love it, and that's what you do.
Yeah, and I'll be vulnerable here. In the last year, I would say, it's really easy for evil and the devil to infiltrate your thought process.
Yes.
And you start thinking, man, what have I done?
I have said
I'm not a
that.
loan officer.
Yeah. What did I do, Lord?
But, on the flip side of that, I think, and I don't look back because I wouldn't have done the volume I've done without my team that I had at the time.
Sure.
Kim Moon and Adria.
Oh, yeah.
And those girls, I still care for them dearly.
Yeah.
And we had a great run.
Yeah.
Negative self-thought keeps coming back and saying, infiltrate your thought process.
Yeah.
And it's real. I know a lot of people say, for me, negative self-talk is, I'm so hard on myself.
I'm my worst critic too.
Yeah, and I don't give myself grace, and I'm just coming to the realization that it's okay to struggle. Life is
100%. And I think when people learn, I think that was some of my most powerful times in leadership is when I became vulnerable and I opened up and I related. That's how relationships formed. I related to people that are working along with me. I asked one of the guys, I don't think I finished it earlier, one of the young guys asked him recently, I said, why did you choose Southern Elite? My son, he said, because I believe you're invested in me. That was his response. And I said, son, if you'll just go be your best you, always, because we get in a complacency style state. And I said, always treat 100,000 like it's $1 million. I don't care. If you'll treat it like it's the most expensive thing every time, you'll always have business, man.
The greatest compliment I ever received from and I work with him again now, 2016.
Yeah.
But we were in a conference and I've been successful, whatever, and I was going through my processes or whatever, and he made a comment that, hearing him every day, he makes the client feel like they're the only one he's working on.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot because that's always my goal is I want to be engaged while I'm there. And that goes with my family too. And you were talking about your better half. There's no question I married way over my head. And I have 4 beautiful children they're good kids, they're hard workers. But I'm not a perfect dad. And the last year has been tough. And you always take it out on those that you're closest with.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel less than. But my point in telling everyone this is you're seeing the highlight reel.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You're seeing the highlight reel out there on social media.
Sure.
But if you saw the real, that my word this year is authentic.
Yeah, I love it.
I want to be authentic with anybody and everything that I do. I want to be where I am at the moment.
Right.
My wife will tell you that I'm far from that, but
Mine would too, bro.
first step in that is acknowledging it.
But that's the first way to deal with the problem. Is there not great, because every once in a while, yes, my wife scolds me too. Praise God, that's her job. She takes care of me. She also, I told you, she's my cheerleader sometimes. But every once in a while, she'll say, good job, buddy. Good job. And man, I long to hear, and this, I'll get in my feels, but my dad passed 4 years ago in August, passed 4 years ago. My dad was not a big, I tell you I love you kind of guy till his latter days when he was real ill. But one thing I knew my daddy was proud of me. And when I look back over raising kids, mine I told you are grown pretty much now, I grieve sometimes. I feel guilty sometimes that I was not a good enough daddy. I tried so hard. But I know I failed him at times. And they always tell you, well, they don't come with a manual, you'll figure it out. And that's true, you do. But there are moments that I go, man, Jerry, you could have done so much better there. Could have done so much better there. Oh man, you messed it up right there. Because I'm my worst critic too, right? But every once in a while, man, I just tell them, I said, man, I just want my kids to feel like I felt about my daddy. I knew he was proud of me, man. And that drives me today, Adam. That drives me today. I want my kids, I want them to know that daddy ain't perfect. Daddy ain't got it all figured out, and they do know that. But I just want them to be proud of me. Like I know my daddy was proud of me. And I was proud of him, me and my daddy. And so I'm just trying to be my best me, man. But here's the day. Our days are numbered, and I really think I'm just really getting started. I really think I'm just getting started. I think you'll see me go to Tuscaloosa and set up an office. I think you'll see me go to the Montgomery area and set up an office. I think you'll see me set up an office at the beach. My wife just says that last one has to have some sleeping arrangements where she can stay there when she needs to. But I'm gonna do everything I can, and through it all, I'm gonna give God the glory. And I ain't gonna worry about bank accounts, buddy. We're gonna make sure the bills are paid and my agents are taken care of. They make very good money, but we're gonna build a legacy.
Yeah, we're proud of
Yeah,
that.
it's funny. Well, I appreciate you sharing about your kids.
Oh,
I'm right in the middle of the busy time, and my wife and I just survive on a daily basis right now. But
Yeah, you're hitting practice. I'll get into this one, you get into that one. Yeah.
But one of my close friends, a very loyal partner, and
Yeah.
someone and
Yeah,
Shane Vandergriff,
Yeah.
I've called him many a times about, he had 4 kids
Yeah.
or has 4 children.
Right.
There isn't a manual.
Nope.
And I would call and complain. I've never told this story on public.
Here we go, world.
But, and I probably should have done it with Shane, but it fits perfectly because at the end of the day, you just got to give.
Yeah.
Kids are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm the world's worst.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm a good father.
Sure.
My kids know that I love them.
Sure.
I'm type A,
Yeah.
and
Got a high level.
my expectations are high only because I want them to reach their full potential. And I know
Sure.
one day they're going to look back and thank me for.
Yeah. It's in the season though.
Yeah, but Shane said,
Yeah.
raising kids ain't for the weak.
No, that's good. That's true. I agree with him 100%. My oldest daughter was in college, and she was the first, right? So I had set this high bar, man. I mean, I was hard on her. And she'd tell you to this day, Dad was too hard, probably. I was really hard on her. If it wasn't an A, don't come home, It was just one of those. I was really, because I wanted the best for her, I pushed her. She was probably 3rd year college. She's double degreed and all that stuff now. She's on staff at the University of Alabama. Matter of fact, her and her husband both. My son-in-law's on staff at the University of Alabama. Yeah, Alabama football's where my son-in-law's with. But she, about year 3 of college, I saw the effect of what it was doing to her. And I called her up. I said, hey, baby girl, I've been in the business for a long time. C's get degrees, get it done.
I released that because I knew that I was killing
I'll
it.
tell this. I called a high school. I always thought that I was going to be an attorney.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is I'm not a great reader.
I understand.
And law school is reading.
Yeah, a lot of reading.
A lot of reading. So anyway, I was talking to a friend of mine of the family that's a lawyer, and his A students are professors, B students are judges,
Yeah.
C students make all the money. So my point in saying that is I want my kids to reach their true potential.
Yeah.
Their true potential may not be straight A's like mine,
Right.
like mine or.
It takes great discipline to get to that place, but when you first start out, you don't think that way. You grow into it. I did the same thing, and I think most people do.
Yeah. Well, you're a good man. I appreciate it. The last thing I'll say, Jerry mentioned leaving a legacy. I'm about to launch a podcast, Leadership to Legacy is what it's called.
Good.
And there you're going to see Jerry again and other business community leaders that it's going to be more vulnerable, and it's going to shed light on success, what it takes to get there, the pitfalls.
Yeah.
We're going to even go into some of the hard failures
Yeah,
Because
good.
if I can keep one person from making the mistakes that I did,
Yeah.
to me, that's more fulfilling
Yep.
than a commission.
It's a blessing being a blessing, brother. It's a
You know, I
blessing being a
found
blessing. I
when
agree.
you're when it's all about people, paycheck follows.
100%. I tell my agents, if you understand that both sides of every transaction have a situation, our job's just to help bring resolution.
If you want to be that guy,
And listen, we're not transactional. I know a lot of people are all about, and look, when it's slower, it's hard not to be in the weeds going, I need to get this closed.
Yeah,
I
beat the
need to-
bushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you'll make relationships and foster those relationships,
Yeah.
how many agents don't have a database?
Oh gosh,
A bunch of them.
ton of them.
How many agents aren't on social media at all today?
That's right.
Listen, it's free advertising. You don't have to boost, you don't have to do all this high production. But tell people your journey, tell people about you.
Number one key to being in business: make sure everybody knows you're in business.
If they don't know what you, because people say, I can't believe my cousin or my this or that didn't call me. Well, they might not even know you was in the business. Or they might, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you didn't do your job, you know? We never want to look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I messed up, right?
Well, I'm going to end with it. You guys, realtor, real estate agents, whoever,
If you like what Jerry said, number one, follow him, but reach out to Jerry. He's easy to follow. He'll talk to anybody. Loan officers, if you're out there, you're struggling, anything you want to talk about, I'm here, and it's confidential.
100%.
Because look, I've struggled the last year. Life is about getting through those failures
I'll say this.
or struggles.
I want to make it very clear too. You don't have to be with Southern Lake Realty to call me. I have
one of his
agents.
agents.
Absolutely. My agents are, I've communicated, you take care of, listen, family fights for family. Take care of one another. Life's short, live it and be your best. Worry about the legacy, not the bank account. God bless you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.